I read 52 books in 365 days last year. And out of all those 52 books, here are the most important six. So I read a lot last year, whether it's from psychology, business, self-improvement, relationship. And I figured out that 95% of them are actually useless. 95% of them literally don't give you any actionable results. And they're kind of just repeated books. And what you come to realize is after you read a lot of these books, the same knowledge tends to get regurgitated over and over and over again. And that's just because typically there's not a lot of new discoveries when it comes to making money, especially out there in the real world, except for AI and everything else online. And so everything's kind of just reiterated in a different fashion. So it's a little bit weird, but something that I kind of get used to because I was not used to that. So starting off with book number one, I have 3 books that are self-improvement based and 3 books that are just strictly business based, because I know my audience here on YouTube is mostly business / self-improvement. So I wanted to include everybody on this as well as the people who are new to the channel. That way you guys can actually extract the amount of value that I believe you can. So I'm going to save you hours, countless hours of me waking up at 5 a.m. reading. Let's get straight to it. So the first book that I have is Beyond Mars and Venus. Now, this is by the same author, John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. So it's not just catered to relationships. This book isn't just catered to, okay, well, this is like a black and white relationship and like blah, blah, blah. This is also how society is. There's a lot of thematic statements in here, and it does make a lot of sense. It's not biased towards anybody. He's not like subjective in any way. He literally just brings scientific facts to the table. And he does this through different experimental tests that have happened over the years. And he's not biased in any way. He talks about his clinical practices, what he's seen, what he's experienced. So he's not just some random guy telling you how to run a relationship. He backs up all of his knowledge with facts. And that's what I really like about it. So that's book number one. If you want to actually learn how to, I would say the biggest takeaway from this book is how to effectively present yourself in not only a relationship, but in society as well. Like understand how you might react in a certain way just based off your DNA and just based off what is really ingrained in you as a human being. So with that being said, the second book tends to be You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I picked this one up earlier on in my journey of self-improvement. I really like this one because she talks about, and this really helped open up my eyes about the fact of the matter that you have a lot more power than you realize. So we look at all these celebrities, we look at all these people on the news, we look at all these people on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, and we tend to put them on a pedestal. Now, this is all advice you've heard before. You put them on a pedestal, but what you don't realize is that you can actually be that person. And actually it is whatever that you desire, kind of like Untethered Soul speaks about, if you ever read that book. It talks about how you are actually far more not only powerful, but you can accomplish just as much as those people do, if not more. So putting those actions into perspective really helps you understand that, look, I'm going to stop doubting my greatness and I'm going to live the life that I truly believe. So this was the first book that actually helped ingrain that thought in me. It's the first book that actually helped me like with online business to where I was like, I'm like worthy of making this much money. And so I decided to, this book was part of the reasons why I actually started this channel to begin with back last year. So that is You Are a Badass. I would highly recommend you pick this one up. It's a really short read. I think it's about 200 pages? Yeah, like 200 and less than 250 pages. So it's super, super, super lightweight, but very knowledgeable and very impactful. So the last book that we have for the self-improvement section is, you've heard it before, The 4 Agreements. So I really like this one. You've seen it all the way before. I like this one mainly because of the fact that it talks about why exactly you act the way you do and how to essentially do not take anything personally, be impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So don't take anything personally. He dives deep into the fact that everything that a person does that's negative in your life is just based off of a reaction that they have internally. And you shouldn't take it personally, because most of the time, and you learn about this with all these 3 different books, people do one thing and it starts with the letter P. They project. And so projecting different insecurities, projecting different traumas, projecting different, feelings that they have based off an assumption or based off a bias or based off something that they may have experienced is projected onto you. And that's why he really harps on the fact of like, don't take anything personally, because at the end of the day, every single negative thing that comes out of somebody's mouth is either an insecurity, it's a fear of abandonment, attachment, or it just comes from something negative in their life that they want you to believe, and it's bias. Being impeccable with your word is just kind of like holding true and standing ground with what you say. Not making assumptions is essentially just, don't jump to conclusions with other people, business and life, with self-improvement that you don't fully know the backstory of, because somebody may have been burned in a specific area time before that you don't even know about. And so the reason why they're doing that is because of that reason. It's not like they're out to get you, or it's not like they don't like you. So just don't make assumptions, period. And last one right here, always do your best. And that one's pretty straightforward. Just apply the knowledge and you'll be good to go. So those are the 3 self-improvement ones. If you read these 3 self-improvement books, I promise you, you'll become a much better person and you will be a lot more knowledgeable. And your friends will ask you, how do you know all this stuff? Just like I did. I have a bunch of my buddies who are like, dude, how are you able to know all this stuff? Like, how are you doing this? And I just say, read these 3 books. I'm going to save you some time. A lot of those books over there are good, but they're not as actionable as these 3. So Beyond Mars and Venus, You're a Badass, and The 4 Agreements. So pick these 3 up. Let's get into the business books. That's going to help you 10x your income online or in person. So guys, business has always had a very special place in my heart ever since a few years ago when I started my entrepreneurial journey, and I just really started documenting it as of last year, as in December of 2023. And that's pretty much when I finished up reading all these 52 books, and I really started applying all the knowledge that I've learned. So here are the 3 most impactful business books that are going to help you probably 10x your business and honestly open up so many different doors that you don't even know could be opened. So starting off with number 1, probably the least one you would expect, is 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. Now I picked this one up at Half Price Books a while ago. And this is he gives a lot of not older advice, but advice when I was a lot younger. So like in the 2010s and stuff, but it applies timelessly. And do not be fooled. That advice that he speaks about, 80/20, 20% of the people in the population, or 20% of the overall population owns 80% of the wealth. 20% of your clientele gives you 80% of your revenue. The 80/20 rule, it's kind of like a triangle, is literally everywhere. And this book actionably applies it in the world. And he shows you how to actually apply it in your business. And this helped me 80/20 my business. So it really helped me up my reoccurring revenue and sort of increase clientele. And this book really, I read this book in like a day, because I was just super excited to read it. And every single page that I read, I just wanted more of it. So it's only about 204 pages. Really opens up your mind to like what all is out there as far as how you can really 10x your business and how you can 80/20 your life essentially. So that's what I really liked about this one. Go pick it up. You will read it in 2 days, I promise you. And this will literally by itself like 5x your income, I promise. Number 2 is a pretty basic book. A lot of people have actually heard of it. It's Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This one right here. So he talks about how not only body posture, but the way you sort of poise yourself increases improvement in your business and in your life. And he kind of dives into the law of attraction, manifestation a little bit. He doesn't specifically use those terms, I don't think, in the book, but he really talks about how you can program your subconscious mind into believing you're someone who you're not in this 3D world, but mentally you're there. And then when you set that intention mentally of, oh, I'm this person, oh, I'm this person, oh, I'm this person, you start to believe it. And then guess what? Reality starts to catch up with your intention. And so that was something that was super powerful for me, because earlier on when I started making YouTube videos, when I started posting on Instagram, when I started growing my audience, I had a lot of like imposter syndrome, like, oh, this isn't me. Then I started viewing myself as that person that actually is in front of the camera, that can look at the camera and speak, that is very comfortable in front of the camera, as you can tell. And it just became natural to me. And so that's something that actually helped me in this book, that applied actionably in my life, as well as business. I started looking at myself as that person who actually runs a business, who actually operates a business, who actually knows how to do these different things. He talks about cultivating the power of rational thinking, discovering the key to being happier and have a more successful life, than setting and achieving worthwhile goals. So this book is extremely helpful. It's why every single guru, your favorite guru, talks about it, because it's actually a great book. Again, it's another short read. Anything under 300 pages, in my opinion, is a very short read. This one's like 275 pages. So definitely pick it up. Psycho-Cybernetics, ladies and gentlemen. The last book that we have right here is by one of my favorite entrepreneurs. He actually has the same name as me, Patrick Bet-David, and he wrote one of the most impactful books in business, and it's Your Next 5 Moves. So Master the Art of Business Strategy. So what I really like about Patrick is he really illustrates art of storytelling. And in the book, he talks about how it was a very, traumatic event that happened. His dad was in the hospital, I think with a heart condition, and essentially they couldn't give him top tier medical personalization and medical care because he couldn't afford it. And then basically one of the nurses or something, or one of the practitioners or doctors went up to Patrick and said, look, why are you complaining at us when you can't afford it? Or like, if you made enough money, you could afford care for your father, or like something like that, or like afford better care. And he talks about this impactful, shift in his life. And that's kind of the turning point. And then he talks about how he went out to the car and like cried like a baby and like held on to the steering wheel and stuff. And it really opens up your eyes to planning ahead. And obviously he harps on that story, but that was just his own pivotal story. But what Patrick does a really good job of is he really explains how to get clarity in your business, how to strategize, how to actually grow different insights in your business. And he talks about how like you can bring an idea into life and why it's so important to plan 5, 10, 15 moves out. And he relates it back to chess. Like beginners only know like 1 or 2 moves ahead of you or ahead of themselves, and grandmasters know like 15 or 20. So he said when you plan out your business like you're playing chess, and like obviously this has all been like normalized by dudes like Andrew Tate and stuff, telling you to like smoke cigars and like play chess and stuff. But really actionable advice in this book. Really talks about how you should be establishing company codes, and he's sort of like a big business dude. He's not really like, he doesn't run an online business. He obviously runs a very like traditional insurance business. So a lot of his advice is actionable online, but at the same time, like it's very much catered to just what you really want to do with your life and kind of his own business, which is completely fine. You just kind of have to tweak it to what you are most comfortable with and what most is applicable to your business. So he says like if you don't have a system, you have a limited chance for exponential growth. So he really talks about systems. He talks about effective sales. He's a really good sales guy. I think he learned a lot when he was doing sales training or something like that. So super cool. Those are the 6 books. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment below if you took anything away from this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.